The Ohio State Buckeyes were so close to breaking an NFL draft record. So they had 14 players drafted in the 2025 NFL draft, one shy of the Georgia Bulldog record of 15 players. So today we're going over where each of those Ohio State Buckeyes went, breaking it all down, and then going over a little bit of where I had previously projected them to go. So thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Blitz with Blender. Happy to have you. So we're going to start it off with the very first Buckeye taken, which was Ohio State's wide receiver, Emeka Egubka. And Emeka was the type of guy that a lot of people called boring. The type of player that does everything the right way, runs good routes, blocks extremely well, never misses an assignment, and scores a good amount of touchdowns. He's not going to be the Marvin Harrison Jr. crazy 50-50 balls blowing by you with Jeremiah Smith's ability, or Carnell Tate even being able to do that. The Olave, the Garrett Wilsons, the Jackson Smith and Jigba type of comparison is more so of what Emeka Egubka is. He is one of the best human beings that you can run into and meet, is what I've heard. I haven't personally met him, but that is what every single guy has talked about with Emeka. So his traits are that of a number one NFL wide receiver. He's 6'1", 205, and has speed somewhere around 4'4". Why the Tampa Bay Buccaneers took a wide receiver when they already had Chris Godwin and Mike Evans was we're going to continue to build around Baker and supply him with the tools so that we can play home playoff games every season, because we have one of the best wide receiving cores in the NFL. Who's talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? People are talking about Minnesota, Detroit, the Bengals, the Eagles, maybe Chicago after they've got that young wide receiver core. But Tampa Bay with those veterans and bringing in new guys. They've even got Tez Johnson. So Emeka Egubka, I had pegged to go somewhere between 15th and 32nd. So I had got that one right in the first round. That was a prediction that seemed pretty easy, that NFL teams weren't going to let him slide out of the first round. So moving ahead to the next Buckeye draft, it was Donovan Jackson at pick number 24. Didn't have to wait a whole long time to hear one of the most versatile players in college football last season, Dono, get taken off the board by an NFC North team that was looking for a bit of, like I said, versatility, someone that can move around. Played a bit of left tackle last season. Once Josh Simmons, we'll mention him. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But Donovan Jackson just made that Minnesota Vikings line a whole lot better because of his ability to play multiple positions and do that very well. I had Donovan pegged to be somewhere between the late first. I actually had it from 24 to 50. I'm not going to say, oh, he was for sure a first round guy. I thought he could potentially slid into the second round if teams were going a different direction, but Minnesota saw the value in taking him there. So I had him 24 to 50, barely got that projected pick. We had mentioned Josh Simmons, so the guy that was taken from the Buckeyes before that was Tyliek Williams by the Detroit Lions. I had projected him to go somewhere between pick 24 to 50, exactly like Donovan Jackson, but the Detroit Lions surprised me a little bit taking him in that slot. I thought that they might go with an edge player like Mike Green on the opposite side of Aiden Hutchinson, but they thought we need to fill this in next to Aleem McNeil on that defense, and with the amount of depth issues we had with the injuries last season, let's go with Tyliek Williams. He is 330 pounds, 6'3", and moves like a freak. Immediately think to the Iowa game last season, earlier in the year, where he played extremely well, coming back from a little bit of an injury earlier in the 2024 season, where he missed a few games. But when he was on the field, you're able to fill his presence throughout the college football playoff. Josh Simmons was taken with the last pick of the first round, 32nd overall. Kansas City Chiefs traded back with Eagles. They took Jahad Campbell. Josh Simmons could have been a top 5 pick if he played throughout the whole season. And you can see why. The ability to just move, extremely good feet. And when he gets his hands on you, it's tough to be able to get off of his blocks. And with the pedigree of being an Ohio State offensive lineman, protecting what was completion percentage that was second in the country from Will Howard for half of the year, he did a very good job, and it was just tough to see him get hurt against Oregon. If he didn't get hurt, again, almost a lock to be picked in the top 10. We saw Membu, we saw Kelvin Banks go, we saw, again, Will Campbell go in the top 10 picks of the draft. So 4 Ohio State Buckeyes going in the first round. I thought that Josh Simmons, based on what I had, it was 10 to 32. So again, got a little bit lucky with some of those, like 10 to 32. If he doesn't get picked, that would have ended up being wrong. We did get a couple a little bit off in this, but the first round was locked in terms of what we projected. I did drop another video about where the Ohio State Buckeyes would go in that draft if you want to check if I'm not just making this stuff up. So in the second round, we knew that the running backs were going to go very quickly. Quinshon Judkins and TreVeyon Henderson were wanted commodities by National Football League teams. The running back position, after they saw Saquon Barkley rush for 2,000 yards and Derrick Henry plow through the AFC last year, teams were like, we need to find depth at the running back position or find our future at that spot. The Browns got it in Quinshon Judkins at pick number 36. Look, Quinshon is explosive. He has home run ability. He's a very physical, a good blocker, reliable hands. He saw a catch for a touchdown in the national championship game against Notre Dame at the end of the first half. Quinshon, I had projected to go pick 26 to 50. Thought he could have slid into the later parts of the first round, but ended up going to Cleveland, which is going to be an interesting fit. And after that, you were sitting there, you sort of knew that the Chicago Bears were looking to be taking a running back, and the New England Patriots did not want to let TreVeyon Henderson slide by them. Joel Klatt, Daniel Jeremiah, some of the most reliable draft analysts that did a whole episode where they talked about their favorite players. And they said their favorite players to watch on film were both TreVeyon Henderson. They said the same guy and his ability to pass protect. We might not have a better pass protector in the National Football League at the running back position than TreVeyon Henderson, which is a crazy thing to say because he just came out of college and is going straight to the NFL. The fact that he could be better than any other running backs is so telling. He's 5'10", 204 pounds, and ran a 4.4 340. So that 4.4 speed and being as physical as you get. I thought that TreVeyon was going to go, same thing as Q, somewhere between 26 to 50. Thought teams might have gone up to take him in that first round, but sliding to the New England Patriots, who took Will Campbell, they just made their offense a whole lot better. Later on in the second round, JT Tuimoloau, pick 45 by the Indianapolis Colts. They got a guy that is a Penn State killer, a college football playoff in the 2025 eliminator, and he was incredible throughout that run. A lot of the success why the Buckeyes played so well in that playoff was just JT Tuimoloau, Jack Sawyer having a run of 4 games that were incredible. They had, a combined 10 or 11 sacks between them during that run. So 45th overall to the Indianapolis Colts, 6'5", 250 pounds, everything that you want from a defensive end or an edge player. So they've got him opposite of Latu, and Indianapolis gets a heck of a player. I thought that JT Tuimoloau was going to go somewhere between 35 to 70. Didn't think teams would see the upside in taking him in the first round, but potentially an earlier pick, so they got him. They're at 45, so that ended up working out. Fourth round, Cody Simon goes 115th overall to the Arizona Cardinals, and they were a team that just went after defense, and they were able to get it. Cody Simon, I had pegged here, written down to be 4th or 5th round pick, so Arizona just got a player that looks like he is meant to be a National Football League linebacker. 6'1", 235 pounds. He can run, he can hit, he can cover. All of the intangibles that you want. A captain of that Ohio State national championship team. Everything that you would want in someone. Okay, and then Lathan Ransom, we mentioned, 126 overall to the Carolina Panthers. I think he's immediately going to start. Just brings an amount of juice that any team would be happy to have. Jack Sawyer goes later on in the 4th round to the Pittsburgh Steelers, 123rd overall. I got the Jack Sawyer pick wrong. I thought that Jack would go in the late 2nd or potentially the 3rd round. I had him pegged as 35 to 70. Then he drops all the way to 123. That could be the Buckeye fan of me a little bit there, but I just saw the sheer ferocity that I think that the coaches there in Pittsburgh would be able to work with in the college football playoff. Same thing with JT Tuimoloau, being able to harness whatever was happening with their mindset throughout those last 4 games in working with it. In the 5th round, Ty Hamilton, 148th overall by the Los Angeles Rams. So Ty, I thought, would be a 5th or 6th round pick, just a sheer earth mover. You're going to need an earth mover to move Ty Hamilton, 6'3", 320 pounds. He was that focal point right next to Tyliek Williams in the middle of that defense. And truly, so that was the last Buckeye from the 4 drafted defensive linemen on that defensive front. And Hamilton is going to give the Rams immediately a bit more depth in what has been a great run for them in picking defensive players with their draft picks. Jordan Hancock went in the 5th round to the Buffalo Bills, just so athletic. He can play in the nickel, he can play on the outside, he can play in the middle of the field or as a safety. He was able to allow Caleb Downs to be that rangy over everywhere that you need type of player because of Hancock's ability to cover and be flexible in where they're able to position him in Jim Knowles' defense last season. They're going to miss that Lathan Ransom and Hancock sort of back end of those 3 players. Caleb Downs is still there, but Ransom and Hancock around Caleb were able to do so much of the dirty work to allow Caleb to be freed up to make tackles because he was able to just play free. And then Denzel Burke goes 174th overall to the Arizona Cardinals, who take another Buckeye defender, to Cody Simon in the 4th. So he slides to the 5th. Incredible value. He's going to be going up against Marvin Harrison Jr. The Cardinals said it, like one of the best reasons why they looked at Denzel Burke was because he's been going against wide receivers every single day in practice. Some of the best offensive talent every single day. He's going up against that. And to slide to the 5th round, where he's going to be going against Marvin Harrison Jr. once again, like he has been the last couple of years at Ohio State. Will Howard, I thought, could be a 4th or a 5th round pick just because of the size, 6'4", 235. Teams don't exactly love the arm on him, but they love what's between his ears. He is a very smart, extremely competitive guy, and he can change plays at the line of scrimmage. You can give him multiple plays, and he's going to diagnose what the defense is doing and be able to come up with the correct play. So he ends up going in the 6th round to Pittsburgh. Love that for them. 185th overall. Very much so rooting for Will Howard and Jack Sawyer. We'll see if they end up getting Aaron Rodgers. You know that is going to be coming out relatively soon here. As of the recording of this video, they do not have Aaron Rodgers yet. So Will Howard goes and is the 14th Ohio State Buckeye taken. I thought that G. Scott Jr. would get drafted. He did not. And then Seth McLaughlin, who's now with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he didn't get drafted either. So I thought they could have broken the record if they got those 2 taken off the board, but neither of them did. So that was each of the Buckeyes drafted, a bit of where I thought that they could have been. So overall, I was 11 out of 14 on the range of those picks, which I'll take, and very happy for all of them finding relatively good landing spots overall. So the Ohio State Buckeyes, 14 players drafted, going to have to keep track and follow them throughout their NFL careers. And we know that certainly a couple more from that national championship team are going to be drafted very soon in the 2026 and 2027 NFL drafts very highly. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you understand that I'm an Ohio State diehard fan, but that I try to just deliver what I've seen from them without being overly enthusiastic to the point where it's just fan jargon and not actual impartial feedback of what I've had. And that's what I try to do with the picks. And you can see that a lot of them were actually close to being right on just because of that impartial nature. So thank you so much. And you can expect more content like that in the future from me, from the Chicago Bears, the Ohio State Buckeyes, teams that I support, being able to look at from impartial eyes and just tell it sort of the way I see it. So thank you so much again for watching, and we will see you next time.